welcome to this afternoon's sitting of the Education Committee. I'll begin just with the usual housekeeping, advising anyone in the public gallery that they're welcome to use mobile devices as long as they are in airplane mode and that all devices are muted, and it's not permitted to take photographs or record any part of the meeting. So item 1 on the agenda is apologies. I don't have any members aware of any other apologies? No. So that takes us on to item 2, which is chairperson's business. No chairperson's business other than to welcome David back. So good to have you back on committee. Other than that, it will take us on to item 3 on the agenda, and that is School Uniforms Guidelines and Allowances Bill. It is consideration of final draft amendments, including a new amendment 17. So I am going to suggest that this is taken in closed session. Is that the direction, Clerk? Yeah. So if members are agreed, we'll take this in closed session just to facilitate final open discussion around any amendments before we then move into our public consideration of the clause by clause consideration of the bill. Are members agreed to move into closed?
Mm-hmm.
Great. If we could just do that.
Committee Room 29. Sound. 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 Committee Room 29, 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 Sound. Committee Room 29. 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 Sound.
Okay, thank you. So that concludes item 3 on the agenda, and just for the public broadcast on this, just to confirm, the committee had a final discussion in closed session around all of the committee amendments that have been brought forward, and a discussion on Amendment 17, which was a redraft of a committee amendment that was commissioned in at our previous meeting last week. And we will now be moving on to item 4 on the agenda, and that is the formal clause-by-clause consideration of the School Uniforms Guidelines and Allowances Bill. So I'll advise members that the committee will now formally determine and set out its position on each of the proposed amendments and each clause. If required on any of the amendments where there is a disagreement, that we will divide as necessary, and all decisions taken today in terms of the final committee report will be final. So I must also remind committee members that if the committee is not content with a particular clause, the committee can register its formal opposition to the question that the clause stand part of the bill, and that would ensure that that clause in its entirety is debated at consideration stage. I'll also advise members that it's anticipated that the committee will conclude all formal deliberations at today's meeting, and at tomorrow's meeting we will be setting aside time to agree the final report in our usual Wednesday slot. So just checking members are content with all of that, and just making sure as well that everybody's where they need to be in their packs. So we recommend members have a copy of the bill in front of them, and then we begin at page 4 of tabled papers, where we have the specific text of each amendment. I will refer to each amendment by its number, which is the number that has been allocated to each of them in the process of drafting them. So we'll begin then at clause 1. So 5 amendments have been proposed to this clause, so I will read them in turn, and members can follow them in the table referenced. So Amendment 1, that's clause 1, page 1, line 10 of the bill. It is proposed that we leave out from time to time and insert at least once every 3 years. Is the committee content with Amendment 1? Are we agreed?
Content.
Amendment 2. So that is proposed, clause 1, page 1, line 12 at the end. It be inserted a new section 1A1. When developing or reviewing such guidelines, the Department must have due regard to the requirements of Articles 3, 14, 23, 28 and 29 of the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, adopted and opened for signature, ratification and accession by General Assembly Resolution 4425 of the 20th of November 1989. And then 1B1, the schedule sets out the text of Articles 3, 14, 23, 28 and 29 referred to in section 1A1. Is the committee content with Amendment 2? We agreed?
No.
No. So just to clarify in terms of process, do you intend to divide on that or on the clause as amended?
Just the clause, and
Clause
we
as
won't divide on
amended.
the clause.
Okay. But you wish to note you're not in support of that amendment. Has that, have you got a record of that? No? Okay, that takes us to Amendment 3. Clause 1, page 1, line 18. Leave out may and insert must. Is the committee content with Amendment 3? No, from the DUP side. So again, same position, not dividing, but registering that you're not in support of that. Amendment 4, clause 1, page 2, line 1. After who, insert including pupils and their parents or guardians. Is the committee content with Amendment 4? Agreed. Amendment 5, clause 1, page 2, line 9. At the end, insert the Department must lay any guidelines issued under this section before the Assembly. Is the committee content with Amendment 5? Agreed. Okay, so that is clause 1 concluded. So I just need to ask members, is the committee content with clause 1 as amended? Agreed? Okay, clause 2. Bit more to get through here. 10 amendments have been proposed to this clause. So Amendment 6, clause 2, page 2, line 12. At the end, insert guidelines under this chapter must include provision prohibiting any aspects of school uniform policies which restrict choice of items of clothing on the basis of sex or gender. Is the committee content with Amendment 6?
No.
Okay, is that again one you wish to divide on, or
We'll divide on the clause.
clause as amended? Amendment 7, Clause 2, page 2, line 15. After pupils, insert including with respect to menstruation. Is the committee content with Amendment 7? Agreed. Amendment 8, Clause 2, page 2, line 15. At the end, insert practicality of clothing in relation to play-based curricula and outdoor learning, including within the foundation stage, as defined by the Education Curriculum Minimum Content Order Northern Ireland 2007. Are members content with that amendment?
No.
No. Again, you're going to divide on the clause as amended. All other members agreed? Amendment 9, Clause 2, page 2, line 15. At the end, insert promoting the safety of pupils with regard to road traffic. Are members agreed? That amendment. Amendment 9 agreed. Amendment 10, Clause 2, page 2, line 18. At the end, insert guidelines under this chapter must include provision requiring school uniform policies to allow reasonable accommodations for cultural difference, religious practice, disability or special educational needs. Is the committee content with Amendment 10?
No.
Yeah.
Amendment 11. That had been noted in terms of the opposition. Yeah. Amendment 11, Clause 2, page 2, line 18. At the end, insert guidelines under this chapter must include provision requiring school uniform policies to ensure all items of clothing required are available for purchase from at least one retailer or provider, which does not hold any formal or informal contract or agreement with the school relating to provision of such items of clothing. And guidelines under this chapter must include provision specifying that Section 2A will not apply to any school uniform policy which includes a statement from the school manager explaining how a contract or agreement delivers value for money with respect to items of clothing required by the school uniform policy. Is the committee content with Amendment 11?
Agreed.
Great. Amendment 12, Clause 2, page 2, line 18. At the end, insert guidelines under this chapter must include provision requiring a manager of a school to publish at least once per year information regarding any formal or informal contracts or agreements which the school holds with any retailer or provider relating to provision of items of clothing required by the school uniform policy. And provision under Section 2A does not apply to any contracts or agreements which were in place before this Act received royal assent. Is the committee content with Amendment 12? Agreed. Amendment 13, Clause 2, page 2, line 18. At the end, insert guidelines under this chapter must require each school to facilitate or participate in a uniform reuse, loan or bank scheme. Is the committee content with Amendment 13?
Yes.
Agreed. Amendment 14, Clause 2, page 2, line 18. At the end, insert guidelines under this chapter must include provision requiring school uniform policies to permit reasonable adjustments for pupils with a disability or special educational needs, where items of clothing required by those policies cause distress or sensory discomfort or present a barrier to participation. Is the committee content with Amendment 14? Agreed. Amendment 15, Clause 2, page 2, line 18. At the end, insert the department must issue guidance in consultation with relevant advocacy groups and organisations on how schools may adapt uniform policies to accommodate pupils with a disability or special educational needs. Is the committee content with Amendment 15?
Agreed.
Agreed. And Clause 2, that brings us to the end of the amendments proposed in Clause 2. So is the committee content with Clause 2 as amended?
No.
Okay, so you wish to divide on that? So Clerk, if you could maybe just take us through the vote, or I can do that. So I'll ask all those in favour, maybe the simplest way, all those in favour of the Clause 2 as amended, say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed?
No.
No.
So the ayes have it, but if we note the opposition. Okay, that moves us on to Clause 3. Two amendments have been proposed to this clause. So we have Amendment 16, Clause 3, page 2, line 29. Leave out may and insert must. Is the committee content with Amendment 16?
No.
Are you seeking to divide on the clause as amended? Yeah.
The overall clause,
The
yeah.
overall clause. Okay, and then we have Amendment 17, Clause 3, page 2, line 34. This is quite long, so please bear with me. At the end, insert in particular, guidelines under this chapter must include provision requiring school uniform policies to require no more than 4 items of clothing which bear school-specific features. Guidelines under this chapter must further include provision prohibiting school uniform policies from requiring school-specific features on any shirt, blouse, trousers, skirts, tights, socks or shoes, For the purposes of this section, an item of clothing bears school-specific features if it is branded with a crest, logo, motto, emblem, marking or name which is distinctive to the school, of a particular make, style, combination or fabric, or otherwise identifiable as a distinctive element of the school uniform. Guidelines under this chapter must, where practicable, include provision requiring school uniform policies to permit the application of badges, emblems or markings to generic items of clothing as an alternative to items of clothing bearing school-specific features. Is the committee content with Amendment 17?
No.
Yes.
Yes. So we have a difference of opinion there on Amendment 17. So in terms of views in the committee, so as chairperson, I would not be supporting this going forward at this time, but would be supportive of an amendment being worked on by members separately around dealing with the issue of branded items, but I have some concerns about the specific wording. Are there other members who wish to pass any comment or bring this one to a division, or is it to simply note that there's a difference of opinion? Briefly, David.
Just say share similar concerns to yourself, and we'll take any further proposals as they come.
Deputy Chair, do you want to speak?
No, we don't wish to divide on this, but we do want the fact that we wanted this clause to go, or this amendment to go forward, noted in the report.
So that can be noted in the report.
Yeah, so I've in the private session, I took down, let the report reflect that a number of members wanted to bring this forward, but that there was not committee agreement about this wording. Without set of guidelines and without a clear direction on a cap, this is a particularly difficult amendment to draft, and overall members wanted to do further work together after the committee stage to work further on precise wording and ensure the intended effect and avoid unintended consequences.
Are members content with that?
Does that sound okay?
Agreed.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that will be in the report. Thanks.
Thank you, Claire. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the proposed amendments for Clause 3. Is the committee content with Clause 3 as amended?
No.
So you wish to divide on that. So in terms of Clause 3 as amended, all those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
And that's been noted again for the
6-2.
record.
Okay.
Clause 4, no amendments have been proposed to Clause 4. Is the committee content with Clause 4 as drafted? Agreed?
Agreed.
Okay, it is then proposed to insert an additional Clause 4A between the drafted clauses in the bill. So that would be a Clause 4A. After Clause 4, insert reporting on school uniform costs and capping of expense. The department must publish a written report at least once every 3 years detailing its assessment of the cost of school uniforms and their components, including mean costs, median costs and factors contributing to these, and the effect of any capping of expense included in guidelines as a result of Section 4, or if no such capping of expense has been set, the reasons for this, and its subsequent plans for reviewing and, if appropriate, amending the guidelines and imposing, ending or otherwise modifying any capping of expense. The first report, under paragraph 1, must be published within the period of 3 years beginning with the date on which this Act receives royal assent. Is the committee content with Amendment 18 as drafted? Agreed? Okay, Clause 5. No amendments have been proposed to Clause 5. Is the committee content with Clause 5 as drafted? Agreed?
Yes.
Clause 6. One amendment has been proposed to this clause. Amendment 19, Clause 6, page 3, line 29. At the end, insert, a manager of a school must publish and operate procedures to enable complaints to be made concerning the school uniform policy, which must include provision permitting the school a maximum of 3 calendar months to issue a final response to any complaint. Is the committee content with Amendment 19?
No.
Do you wish to divide on that?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll just come then straightforwardly to Clause 6 as amended, if that's the most simple way to do it, as there's only one amendment. So is the committee content with Clause 6 as amended?
No.
So all those in favour of Clause 6 as amended say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed?
No.
Noted. In terms of 6-2. Okay. Clause 7. 3 amendments have been proposed to this clause. Clause 7, page 3, line 31. It's proposed that we leave out subsections 1 and 2 and insert 7.1. The department must give directions as follows to the manager of a school if the department is satisfied that the manager is or staff at the school are in one or more material respects failing to adhere as required to guidelines under this chapter, and 2. the department may give directions to a manager of a school as follows if the department is satisfied that the school's pupils are liable to disciplinary measures or participatory disadvantages at the insistence of the manager or of staff at the school in consequence of breaching a school uniform policy applying at the school. Is the committee content with Amendment 20? Agreed. And then we have clause 7, page 4, line 11. It is proposed that we leave out paragraph B. Is the committee content with Amendment 21? Agreed. Okay. And then we have Amendment 22, clause 7, page 4, line 30. At the end, insert where the department gives directions to a school. It must publish these within 3 months of the directions first being given. Is the committee content with Amendment 22? Agreed. Is the committee content then with clause 7 as amended? Agreed. Okay. Clause 8. No amendments have been proposed to clause 8. Is the committee content with clause 8 as drafted? Agreed. Clause 9. No amendments have been proposed to clause 9. Is the committee content with clause 9 as drafted? Clause 10. No amendments have been proposed to clause 10. Is the committee content with clause 10 as drafted? Clause 11. No amendments have been proposed to clause 11. Is the committee content with clause 11 as drafted? Clause 12. No amendments have been proposed to clause 12. Is the committee content with clause 12 as drafted? Clause 13. No amendments have been proposed to clause 13. Is the committee content with clause 13 as drafted? Clause 14. No amendments have been proposed to clause 14. Is the committee content with clause 14 as drafted? And then we have clause 15. One amendment has been proposed to this clause, Amendment 23. Clause 15, page 7, line 4. Leave out sections 3 and 4 come and insert section 4 comes. Is the committee content with Amendment 23? Agreed. Is the committee content with clause 15 as amended?
Agreed.
Clause 16. No amendments have been proposed to this clause. Is the committee content with clause 16 as drafted?
Agreed.
And then we have Amendment 24, and this introduces, is the committee content with clause 16 as drafted? I think I've asked that. Just checking. I've gone on to autopilot there for a moment. Just want to check I get this right. Amendment 24 then. Amendment 24 introduces a clause after clause 16 on the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. Is the committee content with Amendment 24?
No.
So agreed. Is a division. So can I then just check all those in favour of Amendment 24 say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed no.
No.
Okay. Again 6-2. Okay. That brings us to the end of the clause by clause consideration. Short title. Do we have short title? I don't think we have not got short title.
Yeah, no, it was clause 16.
Clause
so that
16.
was the correct title. Just
So
checking
we have done
myself.
clause 16. Yes, I thought we'd covered everything. So
Okay, thank you.
we are done. Okay, members, so that concludes the clause by clause consideration of the school uniforms bill. Well, actually, I'll give it its full title: the School Uniform Guidelines and Allowances Bill. So we will then move tomorrow, just in terms of our next action, to conclude the committee stage, which will be the agreement of the final committee report. So, item 5 then is the next item on the agenda. That's any other business.
I tabled a letter from the department just because it related to the bill, but we'll table it again tomorrow so you can have time to look at it. And I would suggest that the committee include it in its correspondence in the report.
Yeah, and for members' reference, if you haven't had a chance to read it, it's around some of the material raised by NIPSO around complaints procedures. I think probably my reading of it is that there's some work for the department to do, maybe to come back to us, but I don't think there's anything at this stage for the committee. We certainly don't have time to be drafting a further amendment, but members can take that away in their own time over the summer. In terms of any other business, are there any other items anyone wishes to raise?
Is there one item agenda tomorrow? Is it just a report?
There is a little bit on it. There is correspondence
Right, okay.
and a
And there'll be
written.
matters arising if there's
Yeah.
anything else we can get done other than the committee
Yes.
report.
And I think there's a
Just to
written
tidy up.
briefing on capital, or is it a June monitoring and outrun? So we can potentially look at some correspondence on that as well. There may be opportunity if the process in agreeing the committee report is done quickly, that we could potentially look in relation to the SEN inquiry around any specific areas we want to pick up. So please do come with that, as I think the longer lead in that the clerk and her team have to actually get witnesses scheduled in for that, the better.
And the Minister has asked for a list of things that you're going to ask him.
Okay.
He might come on the 17th of September.
Okay.
So we
Very
can
good.
talk about
That's good to know. That's I'm glad he got back to us so quickly on that. Item 6 then is the date, time and place of next meeting, and that's tomorrow, Wednesday the 2nd of July at 2 p.m, room 29 and online. And I'll just put the question that the committee meeting does now adjourn. Agreed?
Agreed.
Committee Room 29. Sound.